For the Detroit Free Press, I'm Shirkey Jr. II. This is your Free Press Voice Briefing. It's Thursday, December 29th, 2022.
I'm Dave Boucher with the Detroit Free Press. When Mike Shirkey looked at his phone, it said spam risk Egypt. It was November 2020, and the Senate Majority Leader was sitting in a tree stand on the hunt for deer. But when the president calls, you answer. Shirkey, a Clark Lake Republican, recounted this story in more details in nearly 2 hours of testimony provided to investigators on the January 6th committee. The congressional entity tasked with investigating the 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol recently released its final report, along with dozens of transcripts from the interviews with people all over the country. In his deposition, Shirkey discussed going to the White House with other Michigan lawmakers in the days after the 2020 election. He says he told Trump the alleged and unproven claims of voter fraud in Detroit didn't cost him the presidency in Michigan. Rather, it was low support in Kent and Oakland counties. He also talked about a conference call he and others had with Trump at the White House. During the call, Shirkey says he interrupted Rudy Giuliani, the former New York City mayor and a Trump campaign attorney. Giuliani never answered when he was asked when he planned to file a lawsuit in Michigan. Shirkey told investigators, quote, "Something as serious as this, it was my personal feeling that we were destroying the country by talking like this without having something to follow it up with." Although he never felt direct pressure from President Trump, Shirkey said, he acknowledged a cadre of forces trying to push him to get the legislature to intervene in the Electoral College vote. At one point, Shirkey sought solace in a conversation with Vice President Mike Pence, who he viewed to be in a similar situation. When the time came, Shirkey did what he said he'd do, nothing. He also reiterated he never saw evidence of sweeping voter fraud. But he couldn't recall details of the fourth and final phone call Trump made to him in the weeks following the election, a chat that occurred the same day the Electoral College delegates cast their votes in Michigan. Apologizing to investigators, Shirkey said, quote, "The only person more frustrated than maybe you on what I can't recall about this call is me. It frankly pisses me off that I can't remember this call very much." In early January 2021, Trump posted Shirkey's cell phone number on social media. It resulted in more than 4,000 texts to the senator's phone as he vacationed in Florida. But by January 6, 2021, Shirkey says he and his wife were back home. In the days immediately following the attack, Shirkey was recorded multiple times, suggesting some aspects of the assault were quote-unquote a hoax and quote-unquote staged. He didn't mention that to the congressional investigators, though. Instead, Shirkey said as he and his wife watched the riot at the U.S. Capitol unfold, they held hands and cried.
I'm Teresa Baldus with the Detroit Free Press. A second man has been spared a life sentence for plotting to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. However, this same man also got the stiffest punishment handed down in what has been called America's biggest domestic terrorism case in a generation. Delaware trucker Barry Croft Jr. was sentenced to 19 and a half years in prison Wednesday for his role in the Whitmer kidnap plot. The judge concluded he was more culpable than his Michigan counterpart, Adam Fox, who got a 16-year prison sentence the day before. Prosecutors had sought life sentences for both men. They described Croft as the main driver of a plan to spark a violent uprising that included kidnapping a key public figure during the height of the pandemic, in this case, Whitmer. The judge called Croft a more culpable and risky individual than his co-defendant Adam Fox and said, quote, "He gave Mr. Fox something to hang on to, a higher purpose," end quote. For more on this story, please report to freep.com.
I'm Chandra Fleming for the Detroit Free Press. Impaired drivers have a few options to avoid driving under the influence on New Year's Eve. Mike Morris Law Firm is offering $20 Uber vouchers to 1,000 Metro Detroit residents. The voucher has to be claimed in advance and is only available between 5 p.m. December 31st and 10 a.m. January 1st. AAA is offering their Tow to Go program, which is an alternative to impaired drivers who have no other option. With one call, drivers and their vehicles will be dropped off within a 10-mile radius. This option is a last resort, and AAA suggests that drivers have a designated driver before heading out to their destination on New Year's Eve. Read more on freep.com.
I'm Kirkland Crawford with the Free Press Sports Department, checking in on Michigan football, which is out in Arizona, getting ready for its college football playoff semifinal game against TCU in the Fiesta Bowl on Saturday. On Wednesday, star defensive lineman Mazi Smith spoke publicly for the first time since he was charged with felony gun possession, which has since been plated down to a misdemeanor. Smith said he was honest and upfront with Jim Harbaugh as soon as he was arrested back in early October. As you may know, the arrest did not become public until a few days before the Big Ten championship game earlier this month. Smith was not suspended after the arrest or the charges and is scheduled to be in uniform on Saturday afternoon as the Wolverines seek their first national championship in 25 seasons. We will have complete coverage from the desert that you can check out right now in the Free Press and on Freep.com.
For more stories from the Detroit Free Press, head to Freep.com. That's FREEP.com. See you tomorrow.